You know the feeling. It's Barcelona against Getafe, and even though you know Barcelona are the much better team quality-wise, you know that it will be a difficult game, and that every opportunity must be taken, because Getafe are playing in a low block to make life as hard as possible for us, without the intent of even scoring a goal themselves. Not only Getafe do this, a whole lot of teams do, especially against Barcelona, because it seems to be the best way to snatch points from the Blaugrana. But what can Barcelona themselves do to make sure they don't lose points in the La Liga title race against those low block teams? Well, that's what we'll discuss in this video, so make sure to stay tuned. This season up till now, we've seen that if Barcelona's opponents play an open game and want to attack themselves, like Real Betis for example did, they usually get torn apart, while they tend to have a chance at winning if they play with some sort of low block like Celta de Vigo did. That means that more teams will probably start doing it, so it's crucial for Xavi to find a solution against the low block, if we don't want La Liga to slip out of our hands this season. So what should Xavi do exactly? Well, normally Barcelona play with 4 defenders. 2 centre backs, a right back who shifts into midfield, and a left back who often goes into attack to make overlapping runs. 3 midfielders, the defensive midfielder, 1 deeper interior and 1 higher interior, and 3 attackers. A pure right winger who sticks to his side, a striker and a left winger who plays in the area between the striker, the left and the midfield. This is definitely not a defensive setup, but when it comes to purely having to score goals, there are better options out there. And normally you don't only want to score goals, but you also want to be safe from conceding them. Against low block teams though, more of your focus should go towards scoring goals. The only danger against low block teams are counterattacks, and what's the answer to counterattacks? Well, pacey defenders and midfielders who can recover the ball. Since Barcelona have both of those, they should be able to afford playing with an even more offensive lineup than their usual one, to be able to score goals easier while still being protected against counterattacks. But what is that more offensive lineup then? Well, Ter Stegen still plays in goal, I mean of course he does, but you actually play with 3.5 defenders. Yeah, let me explain. You would still have a centre-back pair of Koundé and Araujo. Alejandro Balde would still play at left-back with the same kind of role that he usually has, but João Cancelo would now play as a real pivotal midfielder, where he usually only does so occasionally because, again, as you'll have the ball for 90% of the time, you want your lineup to be optimized for using that ball, not for defending. That means that you basically play with 3 defenders in possession. And even Alejandro Balde would still have the freedom to go and attack the outer left space, and it would even be important because he's the only player in the team who's really responsible for creating danger from that outer left side. So, when it comes to your defense, you have a left back who will play as more of an attacking wing back most of the time. You'll have 2 players who actually stay deep to defend, and a right back who shifts permanently into defensive midfield. Next to João Cancelo in midfield, you would have either Gavi, Oriol Romeu or Frenkie de Jong as a second pivot. Oriol Romeu is definitely not a bad option, as he's probably the most natural pivot out of these 3. Frenkie de Jong wouldn't be ideal because he's not the best at ball recovery, compared to Gavi and Romeu at least. You want your pivot to have that quality because of the danger of counterattacks. Gavi though is phenomenal at ball recovery, but at the same time is also better than Romeu when it comes to press resistance and just his technique and speed of thinking in general. So I would play Gavi next to João Cancelo in a pivotal role. In front of them two, you would have 2 creative players. One of them is the kind of midfielder who reads the game very well, who sees everything, has great passing, links up very well, and can make runs forwards. That player can either be Gundogan or Pedri. Next to him, and this is something that Xavi tried out against Celta de Vigo, you would actually have Rafinha in more of a 10 role, instead of having him stick to the right wing. Rafinha actually has all of the qualities that you want a classic 10 to have. His vision is great, he's creative, and will always find a way to create an opportunity. His technique is amazing, his passing is great, he's just perfect for this role. Eventually, that means that you have a midfield with 4 players, who are all very creative and gonna all make the difference with the slightest opportunity, instead of just a normal 3-man midfield. And one of these players is an actual attacker with an attacking instinct, who just plays a little deeper. So this whole setup is really ideal for creating chances. In attack, at last, you still have the same setup as usual actually. You have a pure right winger who needs to make sure there can be danger from that right side. You have Lewandowski who's supposed to be at the end of everything. And you have João Felix who will roam in between Lewandowski and the left to create chances, and overall, that means that you have a very dynamic attack. With a mobile 9 like Lewandowski, and 2 creative attackers like Rafinha and João Felix who have some freedom to roam, there will be a lot of movement. Here, Alejandro Balde is important as well of course, as he needs to make sure that the left side is occupied when João Felix drifts into the middle. Overall, this way of playing is way more risky, but will also guarantee you goals. And against low block teams, this is eventually the one thing that you're really after. Against Celta de Vigo in La Liga, we saw that Barcelona had a tough time creating opportunities because of Celta's defensive setup, with very little space in between defense and midfield. When Xavi used his attacking formation that we just talked about though, he had more players to be able to play and create in that tight space. And that resulted in having more opportunities and eventually in Barcelona making a crazy comeback. That's why it's definitely a good thing to remember, and this way of playing should definitely be used more against other low block teams. That was it for today's video. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed it, and feel free to share your own opinion in the comments down below. Força Barça, and have a good day.